All right, folks, welcome into the Cowboys Report. I am Tom Downey. Training camp is, we'll call it a month away, a little bit less at this point. So today we're taking a look at some players who have the most to prove and most at risk involved in camp this offseason. Now, reminder, the updated notes here in terms of what the preseason is going to look like. It's going to be different this time around, right? Camp should still start on July 28th, so a little bit later than what the Cowboys had originally planned for with no NFL Hall of Fame game. 2 weeks of preseason games, and then, of course, week 1. So training camp with fewer preseason games and an abbreviated like OTAs offseason period means for some players, there's a lot more at stake than usual. No rookies are included, but we'll begin with, well, kind of a rookie. Connor McGovern, because he didn't play last year. Missed his entire first season with the pectoral injury. The Cowboys liked him coming out of Penn State to the extent that he was their best player left on the board in round 3, and they just took him, had a second-round grade on him. With Connor Williams banged up, and he says he's going to be good to go for week 1, we'll see what it looks like in camp if he's able to go to the start of camp. What that means is McGovern is going to get a shot to earn a starting role. He is going to have that chance to earn that left guard job. If McGovern comes out and dominates in camp early, well, the Cowboys might just be forced to give him the job, which is intriguing to me, and it opens up a legitimate starting position battle for the Cowboys in camp. That's not center, of course. It's at left guard this offseason. So I got 7 more guys I want to get into. Of course, I did not include rookies because that feels like cheating to me. So who are you watching at camp this year? Who are you excited to see? What do they have? Maybe you're worried about them. We'll get to one of those guys here in just a second. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Had to include Trysten Hill, right? He sucked last year. There's no way around it. New staff comes in, and now Trysten Hill, as a second-round pick after just 1 year, finds himself fighting for a roster spot. Not for starting, just to make the damn team. Now, Neville Gallimore is going to make this Cowboys roster. But if he struggles because of a shortened offseason, which I think could impact the rookies in a significant way, that might help Trysten Hill. McCoy, Poe, Gallimore, those guys are making the team. Will the Cowboys go 5 deep at defensive tackle? If Antoine Woods ends up signing his ERFA tender, which I think he ever does at some point, well, that puts Hill in a tricky spot. If Trysten Hill, who is still very young, can show what he didn't show in games last year, well, that's how he makes the roster. Training camp for Trysten Hill is going to be essential this offseason, or I should say this preseason. So will he make the roster? I want you guys to get your votes in here for me. Y for yes or N for no? Do you think in year 2 a second-round pick ends up making the team, or does he end up getting cut? It's simple. Y for yes or N for no? Now, as for my answer, well, we've kind of gone over this a little bit. I've done my 53/55. It's confusing, but I explained it in the video. Roster projection for the Cowboys. So if you are not subscribed, now is the time to go do it. Hit that big red button, subscribe. All of our videos are available, of course, on the channel, including that roster projection one. People are still checking it out. And you better believe we'll do several variations based on how things go in camp and in the preseason. Going to be more defensive players here than offensive players because, well, that's the more concerned area. Aldon Smith hasn't played in the NFL since 2015. Now, there is no fully guaranteed money, though he's kind of got some of it already. But there are roster bonuses for Aldon Smith tied to various dates. For example, week 1 of the season, the preseason game. So if Aldon Smith shows up at camp and it turns out he's terrible, Cowboys can cut him. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. However, I do think you will see Aldon Smith with a lot to prove. There's a lot at stake for him this training camp here because he hasn't played football since 2015. It's the first time he's getting the pads on in a real environment in years. That's kind of a big deal for him. So predict this for me in the comment section. How many sacks do you think Aldon Smith will put together this upcoming season? I am not convinced it's going to be a lot. I'll put the over-under at like 5 or so. Because if I can get 5 sacks out of Aldon Smith, I'm pretty damn happy. That means I got a rotational player on the cheap, and that carries value. So I'll put the over-under at 5. I see a high of 8 right now for Matthew Lee, and I'm sure we'll get some higher numbers coming in just a little bit. Another defensive end that I want to discuss, though, is Dorance Armstrong. Now, Armstrong has played, of course, more recently than Aldon Smith, not nearly as talented. Quite frankly, the issue for Armstrong, new staff is coming in. He hasn't done anything. Like, his career for the Cowboys, hasn't been much to write home about. A couple tackles for loss, a couple sacks. The pressure rate is not very good. That is a significant red flag for the Cowboys. If you're a young player not getting pressure, means you got to just get way better, because that means it's not a finishing issue. It means you're not getting the job done, period. So I am not convinced Dorance Armstrong makes this team. I think he is on the roster bubble. That means camp going to be super, super important for him. Now, you guys don't have to take my word, at least in terms when it comes to the Lawnmower 3.0 at Manscaped. I know my Cowboys stuff, but my wife can tell you all about the Lawnmower 3.0 because she's told me she prefers me using it because it's just cleaner down there, makes things look bigger. I'll let you guys in on a secret. No one wants a bunch of hair around your area down there. That's just not something people want. It gets in the way. It's not appealing. It's gross, frankly. So get the Lawnmower 3.0. It's the single best men's grooming tool out there. It is available for 20% off if you use promo code Cowboys at manscaped.com. That link, folks, it's in the comments and it's in the description. More defense. Promise you guys, right? Jourdan Lewis. I am on Team Jourdan. I just want to emphasize that again one more time here. The problem is that I am not convinced the Cowboys are on Team Jourdan Lewis. Now, he makes plays, 2 interceptions, a couple pass breakups, and part-time duty. He also gives up more plays. And there is a balancing act of, if you are being aggressive, making plays on the football, I am far more willing to overlook the allowed completion, especially out of the slot. The problem is that the Cowboys drafted Trevon Diggs. In theory, he's your long-term one, right? And Lewis at his best in the nickel corner role. The problem is the Cowboys just paid another nickel corner in Anthony Brown. That is a significant red flag when it comes to Jourdan Lewis. So I think he plays a role if the Cowboys give him a chance, and he'll probably play pretty damn well. But the Cowboys keep trying to find ways to go back to Anthony Brown, who isn't much better, if at all better, than Jourdan Lewis. So it's time to bring it back. Until I am convinced that Jourdan Lewis is in the clear, it is time to free Jourdan. So spam that for me, everybody, down there in the comments section. Let's go to receiver now. I told you to get back to some more offense here. You could have gone literally any guy outside of the big three. I'm going to go with Jon'Vea Johnson. Now, last year, kind of around this time, Johnson had emerged as the popular pet cat, if you will, because everyone's like, oh, this is the next great UDFA, right? He's got the speed, good route runner. Well, that's enough, right? Yeah, except the pass catcher forgot to do the second part of that job and catch the ball. Struggled with drops in the preseason and camp and ended up being more or less IR stashed by the Cowboys. The speed is intriguing. And with so much uncertainty behind that big three, Jon'Vea Johnson could finish anywhere from getting cut to being wide receiver 4 on this roster. So make your best guess. Do you think that Jon'Vea Johnson will make the Cowboys in 2020? A for yes, B for no. There are a lot of guys on that depth chart that are going to be fighting for those roles. Noah Brown, Cedric Wilson, Devin Smith, all those players. So cast your votes for me. A for yes, B for no. Early results, I see B's. Interesting. Over now to Donovan Wilson, who was so good in the preseason. We all wanted him starting week 1 over Jeff Heath, and what we got was literally a handful of snaps. That was all we saw from Donovan Wilson, which the NFL will try and claim it's a meritocracy. If it was a meritocracy, truly, we would have seen a little bit more playing time for Donovan Wilson because he was great in the preseason. And there is a clean slate for these defensive backs, but remember, Donovan Wilson's coach at A&M, one of his defensive backs coach was Maurice Linguist. He's the Cowboys coach now, so there is some familiarity there. The problem, at least last year, was the Cowboys viewed Donovan Wilson only as a free safety. They were not giving him time at strong safety. Now, this defense, I expect, will be closer to having almost really two true free safeties. You'll see them both back a little bit deeper than you might otherwise normally. But I'm not sure how the path to playing time for Wilson improves unless the coaching staff gives him those true chances. So do you want him to start? I'm curious how you guys vote here. 1 for yes, 0 for no. Do you want Donovan Wilson starting for the Dallas Cowboys? Back to offense here for our last player. Dalton Schultz, former fourth round pick, hasn't played very much here. He could, in theory, earn that number 2 tight end role, which I think is going to be mostly a blocking tight end role. But Schultz is kind of in an awkward spot because Blake Jarwin surpassed him quickly. He was better than Schultz very, very quickly when Schultz arrived and never caught up to him. Year 3 is normally make or break. He's a cheap option. I think the Cowboys like that at tight end. Blake Bell, though, is now in town here to compete for that number 2 tight end role. Both of them very cheap. Both might end up making the roster. Neither of them have made very many plays in recent years in their NFL career. And maybe one of those UDFAs, Charlie T, or maybe a better blocker, and Sean McEwen out of Michigan ends up making a splash. Maybe Cole Picatinny surprises. So Schultz is not trying to fight for like a starting role. He's kind of more fighting just to stick around on the roster. So wanting to get one more offensive guy, Schultz, I just want to see if he can show some growth this year. Hey Cowboys fans, thanks for watching the Cowboys Report. If you haven't already, click right here to subscribe to our channel for all the best Cowboys coverage on the internet. That's news, rumors, highlights, mailbags, film studies, and a whole lot more. And I'm making your lives a little bit easier as well with the next Cowboys Report video right here.